And happy Lunar New Year. Welcome in
Lunar
the
New Year.
year of the
It's
snake,
the wood
specifically the
snake.
wood snake. Yes.
Yeah.
Which totally is on, like, it's, you can already feel the
Yeah.
energy of that, just like rebirth, shedding old skin, old habits, anything you don't need, and moving more towards growth.
Yeah. And I'm really excited. I need to feel and also look more into this wood snake because I remember I was really on top of it not last year, but maybe two years ago. Yeah, last year was a rat, right?
I think it was
Which
a
I'm
dragon.
Oh, it was the dragon,
Yeah.
right? Right. And then the year before was the rabbit, which I really resonated with that. And so I know, like, I'm feeling with the snake energy, just like I don't really know about Chinese astrology, but what I feel with the snake, I feel like that dark feminine energy, which I've
Yes.
been feeling the past couple of weeks. So I'm like, ooh. So I want to look
Yes.
into more of that and kind of connect with it in however it comes through.
That
So
it's funny that you bring up the dark feminine because I had just brought this up to you a couple days ago that I had a goddess kind of come through to me, goddess Nyx, who is the personification of night, and I like felt it just kind of like creeping up behind me, like I'm really feeling this season, and I'm really feeling this year. Like I know a lot of crazy stuff is happening, but I don't know. I can't help but be like optimistic. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, I've been feeling this like weird. Yeah, it's very dualistic because it's like even in my personal moments of like, oh my God, shit's hitting the fan, or I'm sick or whatever, like it's just stressful moments. And at the same time, like literally at the same time, I feel like this fire inside of me that is like really excited, almost like a little child. And I felt that kind of reflected in just like a really intense dream experience that I had today, even, which I'll share. And yeah, but I feel really, really, really good because there's just like, we feel there's something brewing.
There's something
Yeah.
brewing. I feel like we're on the precipice of just like a collective shift,
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And
if not
we'll be
already in
talking about
it.
that. Yeah. We're definitely in it. I'd say. Like, it's like there was like a tiptoeing and kind of like in and out and in and out. But a lot of us who are doing the quote unquote work
Mm-hmm.
and we're really getting in touch with our own inner selves and just, yeah, we're already in that transition and we're in it's Aquarius season. I'm definitely going to be letting my freak flag fly for the next couple weeks. So we're doing this.
I
Okay.
love it. I love
Yes.
it. This
Yes.
is one of my favorite seasons. Like a lot of people I know are like, "Oh, January lasts forever. I hate January. Like I'm just ready for it to go like past." And I'm like, "I love January. It is one of my favorites, and Aquarius season specifically because like my house where my moon is highlighted, so I'm feeling really connected with myself, and I love the Aquarius season. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. Yeah. I love Aquarius moon. Like it's just, I really wish I could have that moon versus my Capricorn, but that's probably for another conversation.
So
conversation.
you have the sun, and I feel like
Yes.
that is just as fun and weird and cool and
Definitely weird.
interesting.
Yeah, definitely weird. But yeah, so welcome in. Welcome to our innerverse, our space. And if you're here live with us, feel free to say hello in the chat. I'm trying not to be distracted by my cat scratching at the door. Um, so Alexis, do you want to go ahead and share with everyone what we're going to be doing in this episode? And I'm going to let Wednesday in real quick.
Yeah, sure. So tonight we're going to be talking about how our dream space has been over the last lunar cycle. So from the last new moon to this new moon, what our dream space has been like. If there were anything that was like specifically popping out to you, if you were journaling more frequently your dreams or not being able to remember your dreams at all. We're going to talk about how it's been affecting us, and hopefully anybody who's here with us will share how their last lunar cycle dream space has been.
Yeah, so feel free to share with us in the chat. And if you are watching or listening afterwards, feel free to share with us in the comment section. We love connecting with you guys. So we've already been talking a little bit about just the energy right now. We're fully in Aquarius season, like we're in the Aquarius lunar cycle, in the Aquarius solar season. And so we're just really feeling into this energy. And what Alexis and I have been doing the past 2 moon cycles is that we've been reflecting on the previous lunar cycle or just the past few weeks since that new moon. So we're going from new moon to new moon. And we're reflecting on, as you said, how our dream space has been. But I do want to just point out the energy that we're in right now, currently, the cosmic climate, as this week is really profound for dreams. So unfortunately, we didn't get to chat with you guys on Monday, but Monday and Tuesday were really powerful because Mercury was building up to its alignment with Pluto in Aquarius. And I'm sure a lot of you have been feeling that and experiencing that connection in your dream space. And Alexis and I are definitely going to share on that because we had some really interesting dreams this week. And I want to also point to, of course, we're in the new moon. So today, actually, this morning was when the sun and moon met early in the morning. I would say it was around like 8 a.m. Eastern time. So you probably felt that in your dream space the night before or early this morning, if you're listening to this live or, when you're listening back. And then I want to point to another powerful day. And this is probably more powerful than this. I mean, actually, no, I can't compare because the new moon was like really intense because we have what? Moon, Pluto, Mercury, and the sun in
Yep.
Aquarius, right? So we have a stellium. We have a party in Aquarius. So I'm like, yay, we can all fly our freak flags. We're here. It's Aquarius season. But I also want to mention that on February 1st, Venus and Neptune will align in Pisces. So I'm just like, it's going to feel like such a dreamy day. Not only does Venus align with Neptune, but then she also will align with the North Node in Pisces and the moon in Pisces, right? So there's all this like very nebulous energy that we're going to be able to experience and just like feel into. And, if you're on top of your game, you can, dream incubate with this, or just even if you don't do it, do any dream incubation, you can even meditate with an intention on that day. Just do something very dreamy for yourself, I would say. So I'm really looking forward to that energy.
It might be a good idea too, like you said, to meditate. Look when this placement is going to occur and do a guided astral projection or astral travel. Put a blindfold on, put headphones on, get comfortable, and really allow yourself to just be outside of yourself and travel. That might be a really good opportunity.
Yeah. And we'll more than likely start feeling this, the day before, probably the day after. And yeah, it's just a really good time to just like, it just feels really sensational and sensual. And I'm calling this the rose colored glasses day or rose colored day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to be in Delulu. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm already like planning and
I know. As
so
soon
much
as you
fun.
started talking about it, my brain started going, and I was like, all right, how do I want to like make this day as beautiful and as perfect as possible for this placement? And I feel like too, I'm getting the sense just thinking about it that I'm probably gonna cry.
I know. Yeah, I had speaking of crying, I definitely felt that Mercury and Pluto energy where, yeah, and I think the moon had just moved into Aquarius too. So it was like moon, Mercury, Pluto. And when I looked at the transits after I had like this huge, like emotional release, I mean, crying and wailing. And I had been feeling that probably since my birthday. because I don't know if I mentioned to you while I was there, but you could feel my energy, and I was like a
Oh
bit
yeah.
anxious. It was like there was like a
Mhm.
ball in me, and I wanted to cry, but I just like I hadn't gotten there yet. And I finally had the moment where I had some aspect of privacy, and it was just like the moon and Pluto and Mercury just like literally opened the floodgates, and it was like, and it
I
felt so
love
good
it.
though.
I
It
love
felt
when
so
you
good.
have releases that strong and powerful because it's almost like in a way shedding a skin. Like you're shedding
Mhm.
something and kind of refreshed, and you
Yeah.
no longer have this weight, this like you said ball inside of you just waiting to be let go of. That's really I feel like I definitely need that soon.
Yeah, I'm wishing that for you because I felt lighter, and I just knew I had more energetic space within me. So Ashes to Ashes is here. Thank you for being here. Ashes to Ashes says peace and love, dream warriors, with the prayer hand. So welcome. Thank you for saying hello in the chat. And we would love to know how your dream space has been over the past 28 days, 28, 29 days. So here we are. And like we said, we're going to go back to December 30th, which was the Capricorn New Moon. And that was like what I was feeling with that moon. That was a rough, well, I mean, yeah, we're just completing that lunar cycle. I was like, that was a rough, a rough lunar cycle. I'm thinking about Capricorn season, but then also like thinking about the lunar cycle. I'm just like, whew, that was a lot. And I remember we started the lunar cycle, Alexis, with like one dream from the previous cycle. So, oh, did you freeze? I feel like are you here, Alexis? Uh-oh, I think we lost Alexis. Maybe Alexis will come back, but I'll keep going. So, yeah, we started out, Alexis and I were sharing our dreams, and she'll probably come back on. So it's just me. Alexis and I were sharing our dreams, and we were reflecting on Sagittarius lunar cycle, and we're like, oh my gosh, we only literally wrote one dream. It had been a challenge to um, connect to our dreams and to really write them, right? Because it was like I feel during that season in December, right, there's Christmas, and then you have New Year's that you're preparing for. There's a lot of commitments and meetings and engagements, and so it's really hard to really have that moment to yourself to connect and reflect on your dreams, right? Because you're getting up and going, and there's just so much going on. So I know both of us have had challenges with that in the previous cycle. And so I feel I can speak for Alexis on this because we've been talking about it pretty much regularly, that we've gotten better with writing our dreams, with recording them. We've definitely gotten better with sharing them. And at the same time, we have like it's moving really, really slowly. And so I know we have some good dreams to share. And if you want to just pop anything in the chat just to share, like, how your dream space has been, or if you have like a dream that you can put in the chat, or a theme that was coming up for you, definitely share with us. And hopefully Alexis will be back here very soon. So Ashes to Ashes says, yeah, lots of past loves coming into dream space recently, emotional, but I've also recently stopped drugs. So memory has been bubbling back like a rising tide, so that it's coupled with it maybe. Interesting. So I'm curious, Ashes to Ashes, is your past lovers coming in your life, in your dreams? Is that normal? I know personally for me, that's something that always happens, and it's quite annoying. Um, but I tend to have most of the people in my dreams are people that I know. It's rarely anyone that I don't know. And I remember when Alexis and I were we were facilitating a lucid dream circle. We were doing, or personally, I was definitely putting a lot of focus into lucid dreaming. Alexis does, it happens with her naturally. And so it's not as much work for her, I feel. And for me, that was the main thing that I wanted to address. I was like, okay, there are so many people in my dreams that like I know, and a lot of them are ex-boyfriends, right? And there was one in particular that there was I needed closure with. And I'm like, why do you keep, showing up in my dreams? And a lot of people, or I know I've read in many places that, it's like, oh, your ex-boyfriend shows up in your dreams, like they're thinking about you or, whatever. So I'm like, is this true? And I want to like have a conversation. And so I was able to engage, or I tried to engage with this particular ex. And I remember when I just couldn't get to him in the dream. I was finally lucid. I'm like, oh, he's here. I'm lucid. Okay, I'm gonna talk to him and see like what's going on. Like, why are you here? Why do you keep popping up in my dream? And I couldn't get to him. And what I felt was that he was like an avatar. And at one point in the dream, because every time I tried to get to him, he was just out of reach, or he popped up somewhere else, and I would go over there and he was somewhere else. And then I just gave up in the dream. And I then, just asked the dream to show me what's important right now. And the whole dream scene changed. I like walked away from that particular scene as well. Like I just started walking through a neighborhood and everything changed. And when I woke up, one of the messages that came through was like, that doesn't matter. Like I need to finally let go of that. Like he definitely was an avatar, and through connecting or wanting or trying to engage with others in my dreams, people that I know, they usually are not that person. It has only been the only time that's happened where it's actually been the spirit and the energy of the person that's present in my dreams has been my grandmother. Everyone else is like an avatar. Like I'll talk to them and then I'm just kind of like confused, and I'm like, wow, this isn't you. Like, this is just like, so it's really interesting. So I'm curious if you've had any experiences, talking to any of these past loves in your dream, if you've ever gotten to that point. Let's see. I'm just gonna see if I got any messages from. Oh, wow. Okay, Alexis's power just went out completely. That's pretty wild. Okay. Oh no. Sorry, friends. Just one second. If you Sorry, one second. Oh, there she is. Oh, hello. It's Hi, you're in the dark. Can you say something? You were kind of muffled. Oh, I can't hear you. Check and see like, yeah, where the mic's coming out.
Mic's coming out.
Oh, there's an echo. Oh, a little bit. It's really quiet. Say something else.
Hello.
Okay, cool. Yay!
Okay.
Oh my gosh, this is so Dark Moon. I love it. I know I'm sorry that your power's out, but I'm happy that you could figure out a way. Look at this passion and this devotion, this dedication is showing up. Like this is how you know she loves this stuff, like because she's here in the dark. What is that like? You got a flashlight?
Yeah, I grabbed a flashlight. I tried using my husband's phone, but for some reason I couldn't connect to Zoom. So my phone's not at like a high percentage, so we'll see how long this lasts. But
Yeah.
I am here. I don't know if you could tell right before the power went out. Like I'm sure I cut out pretty quickly. But I was looking because my light kept flickering, and I was like, "What the heck is going on?" And then the whole building just shut off, and I was like, "Ah,
Oh
oops."
no. Yeah, I saw you froze and I was like, are you there? And then you just disappeared. Like yeah, it was just me. And I was like, oh shoot, okay. And I was like, all right, well, hopefully she'll be back. So yeah, we'll just jump right in. I'm glad that you're back. I was literally messaging you that to just hopefully you can join whenever, just jump back in. So I'm glad that you're here. All right. So I was just going through the chat, asking everyone how their, of course, their dream space has been. And I got caught up in Ashes to Ashes comment about how past loved ones have been coming up in their dream space recently. And I shared how, that happens to me often. And I was curious if in their dream space, Ashes to Ashes, if, they've ever connected or tried to talk to any of the like the people showing up, the loved ones showing up, like is that normal? And I shared how, you know, I tried to connect with my ex in a lucid dream experience and I couldn't ever like get to him, and that was kind of like the point of it, is just like I need to let it go, this is not important anymore, right? I need to find closure with that and make peace with it. And so then I stopped talking and literally just checked. So that's where you are. You're caught up. So not a lot happened. um, so I'm just following up with Ashes to Ashes says there's one that may always be in them at this point. Made me believe in the multiverse pretty much because they are so vivid and maybe I want those realities. The other two, it has been rare to see them. So since they have been showing up now, it's intriguing and they are weighty and spanning long periods of the dream space. Looks like never ending story when Bastion is in school attic reading Alexis, LOL. So, oh, that's what, okay, they're talking about you. Yes, if you could see the video version of this, I highly, recommend it because this is gold. This is amazing. Um, yeah, so that's
I've been
interesting.
about visitation dreams, and I just told someone I was talking to the other day that um even though we did a two-parter not that long ago, I feel like we could do a continuation of those kinds of dreams because
Oh
they happen
yeah,
often.
they really do. Jace is here. Jace says hi, good evening. Or Jace says good evening, all. I'm saying hi, Jace. Jen's here. Hello, Jen. Welcome. So glad you're here. Jen said, I've had quite a few vivid dreams. I had dreams about both types of surgeries that are options. So this is like what Jen is experiencing in waking life, and it's starting to, of course, reflect in the dream space. I'm hoping that you're able to get some support and guidance from your dreams in this process, Jen. Jen saying, I need to start writing down my dreams. People were in my dreams but can't remember detail. Yeah. Yeah, and just have grace with recording your dreams, because as I mentioned this too, Alexis, when you dropped out, how in the previous lunar cycle when we were reflecting at the Capricorn New Moon, we like only had one dream to share, and actually it was the dream, we both had the dream on the same day, the one dream that we recorded. And now this lunar cycle that we're, reflecting on, we've gotten better. We're not like fully there yet, but we definitely, we've at least been sharing with one another pretty consistently. So yeah, it waxes and wanes for sure.
It does wax. It has a lot to do with, I'm noticing now the cycle where in the like period of time in the year where like either you're resting or you're more active or you're more introspective or you're more like dissociative, and like how that plays a role in the way the dream space is, but also how your resistance or lack thereof to recording is that during that period.
Yeah. Jay says, my dreams are always strange. Recently, they have been focused on buildings being fixed up. And yes, also Jace is just commenting about people in the dreams. I've had talks with past people, and like you said, they are like a shell. Yeah, they're like a shell, an avatar.
Cayce,
Yeah,
it's that dreams about building like houses up. When we think about what houses are represent in a dream, one of the ways you can look at it is the house being like a representation of yourself. And I feel like with building up that house, it could be a representation of like growing and like becoming more aligned with who you're supposed to be in your waking life, and it's showing in your dreaming life.
yeah, I feel that. All right, so let's just go ahead and get into sharing our dreams. Like we'll start with you. How has your dream space been since, December 30th?
So this cycle has been extremely active. Um, it's been a mixture of summer comfort, deep introspection, and very loud and clear messages. Some of the biggest messages that have come through are letting go of control and resistance, allowing more connection with my inner child to help like me heal and grow, and paying close attention to small details. Some of the small details in my dreams, like in dreams specifically, and some examples I have from a recent dream that I had, not last night, but the night before, were like Pisces signs on one of the journals I was looking at, or like a pot of soup and flowers left behind in a booth that I was sitting at with another family. And, just these little details that may not seem significant, play a bigger role than you think. And you kind of have to do a little bit of a deep dive on your on all the little details that you pick up in the dream space. But yeah, my dream space has been extremely active. I was able to record 5 dreams this cycle, and they were very interesting to say the least.
Nice. Do you want to share like a dream, or were you planning on sharing any of your dreams?
Yeah, you know what? I'll share the 2 dreams I had, Monday and Tuesday, since you brought up how that was a significant period for the dream space. The first dream I had Sunday night into Monday night, I was at an outdoor flea market, a lot of thrift stores. I was walking around with family and friends and kind of kept getting split up and then re-emerging with them. I noticed that I was really intrigued with the clothing that was in these spaces. And in between, like just kind of shopping, there were minor conflicts between like dream people that I would like kind of like eavesdrop in on and then continue my search for whatever I was looking for. This was occurring at night, and while I was just walking around trying to enjoy myself, I kept feeling this presence chasing me and um, getting closer and closer. But before they could ever reach me, I would move away and escape. Towards the end of the dream, I was trying to break into a type of, it was like a merge between a college university type thing and a like funeral home. Like it felt very, I don't even know how to describe it. It was just very interesting. And I remember that I broke in and I was purposely trying, like I was writing a letter, and it was a very important letter. But while I was trying to write it, I couldn't get it to the right font. I couldn't get it to stay the right color. I couldn't get it to stay the right size. Like every time I was trying to fix it so it was appropriate for what I wanted to submit it for, it just kept kind of getting messed up. So that was the first dream. Very, I feel like it makes sense to me because, and that one in particular, I felt like had a lot to do with letting go of control and resistance and fear, especially when trying to make like this font and the letters and everything perfect and not being able to. It really felt like I needed to let go of control, which is something I feel like I've been having issues with. And my tarot pool the next morning talked about needing to let go of control immediately. And I was like, oh, well, couldn't be more clear. Like, I mean, my clear. And then the dream that I had Monday night into Tuesday night, um, I had gone into this restaurant. I know that I was in the rush for something. I was trying to get a meal and leave. The restaurant was really, really big. It was on an angle. So where you walked in was the bottom of the restaurant, and then it was a steep angle up. And it was booths. It was dark woods and reds. It kind of almost felt like a Ruby Tuesdays type of like energy, but more dinery. And I walked in, there was this huge screen where you would um, place your order, and but it was completely white, and I couldn't use it. The person behind me who worked there was asking if I needed a seat or what I was looking for, and I basically was like, no, that's fine. And then I left, and then I merged into me going back into the restaurant right after that. And I walked up the booths and I was looking at the people who were sitting there, and I found this one family. It seems like it was a grandmother and a grandfather with a, like a, maybe like a 7-year-old child, and I joined them. And I don't remember what they were talking about, but I knew that it was a really enjoyable experience. I felt really at home. They got up to leave, and I noticed that, and this is where some of those little details came in. I noticed that the older woman left a pot of soup and a bouquet of flowers next to her, and I picked those up, and because they had already like started leaving, and I went to go and run to them to give them their stuff, and I watched them walk out the restaurant. And when I got to the door to go, give them the stuff, I started being accused of stealing, and I was being yelled at, and I ran, and I was hiding, and I waited until it like cooled down, and then I walked up the side of the restaurant, which was indoors, and it was set up almost like a shop. And I was walking, and it was very crowded. I was walking, and I was kind of like paying attention to who was looking at me because I didn't want to be caught. And I got to a rack, like one of those spinning wire racks, and I saw there was a journal, and there was the Pisces symbol on the journal, and I like kind of spun the rack around and then started walking towards more of the back of the restaurant where a huge bookshelf. It was like a beautiful dark wood or dark stained wood, um thick. You just like knew that it was well crafted and well made, and from floor to ceiling there were books and journals. And I remember I was looking, and none of the journals really stuck out to me. And I knew what I was looking for, even though I didn't know what I was looking for. And right when I started really like diving deep into trying to find what I was looking for, I heard people yelling, like, get her, get her. And I started running away, and then I woke up. So those were the two dreams I had, Sunday night into Monday and Monday night into Tuesday. And again, I feel like they were pretty clear. Um, and I know when we talked about the journals, that really brought to perspective um, those aspects, and it really made like my insight of what happened clear. I don't know if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And just hearing it again, what stood out to me, of course, I'm like, the journals, the library, or I mean, it's probably not a library, but it's taken me to Discovery of Witches in that like very beautiful old library. Oh my goodness. Anyways, but the journal with the Pisces symbol, and as we spoke about all this Pisces energy, and you had that dream before I like we even talked about this weekend. And I mean, I feel like I'm drawn to that, right? Because it's like seeing like that type of symbolism is something that obviously as an astrologer that speaks to me. I know you're studying astrology, you're connected with all of that, and so I feel that, and Pisces season is right around the corner. And of course, we have Venus um, aligning with the North Node, and there's just like a lot to explore there in waking life and also um your dream space in the astral. And I can see, just like when you mentioned the other dream, and I like that they're like sequence, even though they might not be directly connected, or maybe they are, but I feel this energy of like creating. And with the journaling, it's especially because the type of journaling that you do is very, very creative, with your artwork. Like I've seen, if you've seen Alexis journals, you have inspired me to, be more artsy. Like, cause I have some stickers in mind, and I like, sometimes I'll draw things, but I mean, I loved looking at, I didn't even go through all of it, but I just saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, but it's very personal. So I'm not going to sit here and just like go from page to page. but it's really unique and so personal and so creative and inspiring. And it's like that kind of energy brings like it brings to life what it is that you're writing. And you are, narrating and exploring your spiritual journey through your writing, through your art. And just so that feels very Pisces to me. And just, being in a bookstore, or like not a bookstore, but just being in a place where there are books like from floor to ceiling, and it's just the vibe of it feels very yeah, it just feels like this deep creative connection that is so expansive, and it's otherworldly in a sense.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And even just think like when we talked about the journals and the books, and then people that actually indulge in them, you had mentioned that it was almost like there was something I wasn't things I'm not ready to dive into yet, but are like at my fingertips. And I'm feeling as though working on my shadow, like integrating my shadow, is the key to reaching that hidden knowledge. And when it comes to that, I want to bring it right back to that Pisces sign on the journal. To me, that almost represented, because my Saturn is in return. My Saturn is in Pisces, and it is making its return on February 22nd, which is a portal day, 222. And
Yeah.
I it's reminding me, it's prepping me like I'm right there, and this is like a very important time for me to really pay attention.
Yeah. I love that. I didn't even, yeah. And it's funny, I was actually looking at your birth chart and the transits today, and I was like, oh yeah, her like Saturn's about did you already have like Saturn return and then it retrograde and it's coming back?
I don't
Like I
know.
think that happened. Yeah, I think this is the third. So I'm pretty sure. I don't, yeah,
My
oh, okay. We just got this done.
I would have to look back.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll look too, because I was like curious about that. So that'll be interesting if that did occur, because this is like the final, like pulling it all together, closing that loop for whatever, closing that experience for whatever um Saturn return means for you. Because like when people tend to have those returns with retrograde, it's interesting. You get three like experiences with that. Like you get the initial, which is usually the most intense, then it comes back around with retrograde, where it's like the illumination. You're like, okay, I can see it, I can pinpoint this. And then when it comes back around, when the planet's direct, it's like you're finally like you're anchoring in and stabilizing that. So it could be a little bit intense, but it's also really good because you really get to thoroughly experience it and like integrate it.
Oh,
So
for like um I don't know if I've shared this on the podcast before, but I have a very strong like wound with my spirituality, and I almost feel like with the Saturn and Pisces, it was like me working through that. And this last one just feels like the end of this particular period of struggles through it.
I can see that. Yeah, so definitely, people listening, those of you listening, pay attention to those symbols, like especially when I would say, the astrology would be considered like an archetypal symbol, which is there's like a spirit or like an essence about it. Like it's really big energy, so to speak, if I can put it in those words. It's just like it has a very like it hits deeper. And that's why I really love when, simple, and we get that with animals and, different things like that. So I love, but like, I feel like astrology is like very unique, and it's like, hey, pay attention, especially if you're, on your spiritual journey and you connect with
Oh,
that already.
for understood or experienced.
Yeah.
So, how about
Awesome.
you? How has you?
Yeah, my I don't know how many dreams. Let's actually see how many dreams I've written. It's probably like three. Since that very first, I was really excited. I think it was literally on December 30th. I was like, I wrote something because it was just like a dry season in my journal, my dream journal. And let us see. Yeah, so that's one. And I'm sorry, I should have did this ahead of time. Um, yeah, literally. Oh, wait a minute. Three dreams. But my dream space, it has been vivid. There's been a lot going on, as this month is like after the first of the year, then it's my birthday and like and it was a big one for me. And so yeah, it was just I was busy and the dreams were vivid. I feel like mornings, I'm just this time of year, and a lot of you in the Northern Hemisphere can relate. Like it's hard to like get up with gusto in the winter because like everything's just so nestled and cozy, and it's like we just want to rest and sleep all day. Like we just want to stay warm. We don't want to go out in the world. Like it's the season of rest and stillness. Like what are you doing? And so I and so I would, it was hard for me to get up and rest. But I'll say now at this point, as of the past 3 days, I finally found my routine, which is I get up before my child, like, even on the weekends. I did this on Sunday. So it's like I'm doing it even on the weekends. And I get up and I do short amount of time of yoga, like 10, 15 minutes. And then I sit and I journal, right? My dreams. And I am also being very gracious with myself. And it's like, you don't have to write the whole dream. Like just write, because I think that's what is a block for me, is that I want to write everything. And then I'm writing for an hour and it's like 10 pages. It's like, write, the most profound thing from the dream, unless I have time, right? Then I can sit and write all day long. But write the most profound thing, because naturally when I go back and read it, everything's going to come back. So like that's been my dream space. And there's been a range of dreams. Anxious, like everything's been vivid. Anxious. I even had a potential nightmare this morning, and I've had some really good dreams. I'm thinking, I don't know if I've had any like very profound, like, oh, actually I feel like I had a precognitive moment, which I'm going to share, or precognitive dream. So I'm sharing two dreams as well. And they were sequenced. They were one after the other, like as far as day. And this was the first one was on the 28th, or no, the 27th. I didn't write it, but I remember it. And then the one that I wrote was the 28th. So the one on the 27th was basically, it was borderline nightmare. It could have been, but it was more anxious. And what was going on at some point in the dream is that I was in this house, and it was kind of like a community house type thing, where it almost didn't feel like the rooms that I was in. It was like it was my room, and I think I shared it with another person, but it was also seemed like it was some sort of building. So it was weird. It wasn't like a homey home, but it felt home, like home. It was really weird too. It's weird to explain, but so there were things going down like in our area, like it felt like in the country, whatever was going on. But it was like basically people were coming to people's homes, and sorry, hopefully this isn't a trigger, so trigger warning, but they were like killing people, right? They were coming into their homes and like murdering them. And it was okay because it was like an order from like the authorities, the powers that be. And so it was time where they came to where I was, and we were trying to find a place to hide. And, some people were successful with hiding and whatnot, but like we weren't. Like I think we were on our way like to like the secure place. And then I was like, I gotta go get this thing or whatever. We had to go back to the room. And when we had went back to the room, um, they were coming up there, and I was, shoot. And they opened the door, and it was a friend. Actually, it was like a crush, or like it could have been a boyfriend at the time, but we were in middle school, like when we first met, like it was seventh grade. And we kind of had an ongoing thing, kind of like we always liked each other anyways, but nonetheless. So there was like this like familiarity with each other, and it was like kind of like romantic in a way. So yeah, we were just like, I was like, wait, I'm not going to say their name, but I was, like really surprised. And it was like automatically he was like, no, you're good. Like, you don't have to worry. And basically I was safe, right? Because of the connection. So, but then I like woke up, I think shortly after that. And I was just like, but just like the energy of the dream was very stressful, anxious, and it was borderline nightmare. And so the next dream, which was the following um, night or morning, whatever, I had a dream, and it was basically at some point in the dream, I'm getting ready, or I'm in the midst of like a road trip, and I am getting everything together. Like we're packing up the car, and my mother's there, my brother's there. I will note that I was going to be driving, which is what usually happens anyways on road trips. Like I'm usually, if I'm with my mom, I'm usually the one driving most of the time, and so that's what was happening. And then as we're packing up, I get this phone call, and it's a staff member or a staff employee from my middle school, right? And so that brings me to that connection to the first dream. But so I'm on the phone with this staff person, and it wasn't like he wasn't like a principal, but kind of like up there, maybe like a VP, but not anyone that I could like really say their name. Um, and so we were talking, he was like, basically like, how are you doing? Like I was catching him up, and, I didn't really want to talk to him. So I was saying things that I wouldn't usually say. Like, I don't know. I was just trying to get him off the phone or like offend him. So I was like, hey, so, like, I'm an astrologer. Do you know what astrology is? Like, I was just trying to be very controversial, and I was sharing things. And I don't remember all the details of the conversation, but I remember that part. And then I remember at the end of the conversation, and I was like, this is like, I have a degree, like a bachelor's in astronomy, and this is how this came together, and like just weaving both of that. Right. And so then I get off the phone with him, and whatever, we go on about the journey, and like a lot of like, there was more to the dream, and we ended up somewhere else. But anyways, that was the most important part, because when I woke up, I just couldn't get my middle school out of like my head. I was like, why did I have a dream? What's going on with my middle school? And like, what? Oh, I remember. I should back up. So when I was on the phone with him right before I hung up, he was like, who is this again? And I was like, we just spent the whole conversation talking. And I was like, then I remembered, I was like, oh, right. He's not going to know who Urania is. I was like, this is Portia, which is my birth name, Portia Bazzani. And then I was like, oh, shoot, he's not going to remember Bazzani because that's my married last name. So then Suggs, which I freaking hate, my maternal or whatever, my maiden last name is Suggs, like Suggs. I hate it. And I can't believe I'm saying it live, but here I am. So I said that and whatever. And then we got off the phone. But that was like that whole situation. I was like, when I woke up, I'm like, that is so weird. But I felt really good because of how I was like, I'm an astrologer, and like, but I thought it was funny. He was like, and then he was confused, like, who is this again that I'm talking to? And so the precognitive part of that, well, firstly, I felt really like I was curious about the middle school connection. I'm like, okay, I just had a dream about someone from middle school. Like we went to middle school and high school together. And then which I don't talk to at all. Like, yeah, I don't even know. Yeah, I haven't talked to him in like years, but um so there's no bad blood or anything is my point. But yeah, so that morning I had a parent teacher conference with my daughter's teacher, and we were talking, and she's having some things going on, but it makes sense in her astrology. And I've been thinking about this since the very first parent teacher conference. And she knows that I'm an astrologer. Like I'm pretty sure I brought that up like in the interview process if she was going to go to the school, because it's Montessori. So it's like a whole private thing. You want to see if you're a good fit. And so this time we were talking, and I was like, she was asking us about how we felt about things. And I was like, so this is going to be kind of out there. But I was like, I'm an astrologer, right? And she was like, yeah. And, then I went into, no, and I was like, so, I'm an astrologer. And she was like, yes. And she was like, oh, I actually looked into your website. Like, I love all that stuff. And it was just like, we kind of like clicked even more because she's very intuitive and I really like her. And that kind of like strengthened that connection. And then I went on to like my, interpretation of what's going on in her chart and like how that's reflected in her school environment and how she is. And when I left that meeting, I felt so confident and proud of myself. And I felt like that it like reflected the dream because I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna like, first of all, I like, hopefully this gets him off the phone. I'm like, I'm an astrologer, right? And it was literally the same words. I didn't plan it, it just happened. And I felt all day long, I felt so good. Oh no, I lost Alexis again. But I felt really good about myself. And it's been a long time coming as far as owning like who I am and like the work that I do. And even coming down to the car, as I've mentioned since the very beginning of my dream journey, the car symbol has been repetitive for me. And um, also specifically in relation to my mother and my identity and, navigating my own life and all of the things that the car represents. And so, yeah, it was just a big win. Like the dream reflected to me like the personal growth and spiritual development and confidence that I have within myself. Um, because I'm always like concerned with like, I can't share this with people with like normies or muggles. And I don't really think her teacher is a muggle, but still that's like a very professional environment. And I'm like, I don't want her teacher to, judge me because, this is what I'm doing. And so the fact that I just said it as a matter of fact and like very professional, um, and it was received in that way, it was beautiful and it felt very precognitive in that experience. So I'm really eager to hear what Alexis had to say because I was waiting to tell her about this. So, but I'm going to check in with you guys. Let me just see. I don't have any messages from her yet. All right, let's see what. Yeah, Urania, sounds like it was a win. Yeah, it was amazing. So we'll see if Alexis joins us again, and we'll see what she says. But I'm just going to go here through the comments. And Alexis and I have planned to pull an oracle card and some tarot cards. So I'm still going to do that. And hopefully she'll be back before, the hour ends. So I'm just going through your comments. Jay says corner restaurant. Oh, you're sharing your story. Okay. Yeah. Renovating a building recently was buying an old. Nice. Yeah. So I can see that rebuilding is just like restructuring or rebuilding things within yourself, possibly. Um, I could see that certain aspects of yourself. Um, and Jace also mentions there's a corner restaurant, and while a bunch of people were worried, I wanted to buy the place and read it down. Tear it down. I actually wanted to buy it from the older couple and fix it up. Nice. It's interesting. You, Alexis, and I have had recently had a dream about restaurants. And I know mine is kind of probably day residue because I'm reading a book and the I'm reading Jitterbug Perfume, and one of the characters is a waitress, and it's like there was a whole thing with waitresses. So, but I'm pretty sure I had my restaurant dream before that. So interesting. Ashes says, when I'm first waking up, I'm always thinking there's no way I could forget them. And then 15 minutes later, I inevitably do yet again. I need to have my journal or voice memos maybe next to bed. Yeah, definitely. I feel like voice memos is king when you are like wanting to just like get it out right away. Because the only way that I can, unless it's a really profound dream, the only way that it really sticks with me is like I got to keep replaying it in my mind until I can get to my journal and write it down. And so if I'm rushing in the morning or if I wake up with my daughter, like I'm distracted right away. So as soon as I'm distracted, it's like gone. And I really have to like sit in meditation and just like really like call the dream back and focus on it. And I usually don't do that unless it's a really profound dream. And then most of the time I remember it anyway. So yeah, that struggle is real. All right, so I think I'm going to share an oracle card. I'm assuming Alexis's phone died because she did say she had low battery. So that's frustrating, but that's okay. We will make do and flow with the energy. And I'll have to see what she thinks about that later. But I am going to just pull an oracle card from my moon oracle deck to see what messages are here for us for this new lunar cycle in reference to our dream space. So just take a few deep breaths, feel into your body, and share your energy, your light, your love with this space right now. Okay. All right, Divine, what message do you have for us? Okay, wow. All right, so we got an actual moon phase. We have the full moon in air, flower with air, flower in solution. So right away, I mean, I'm going to look at the guidebook, just to get an interpretation. But already I feel, whatever we are having challenges with, if you're having, requests or you have prayers, whatever your desire is, whatever is sitting with you right now, and it's like on your mind. I know personally, I've been having obsessive thoughts about, specific things, obviously. I guess that's not obvious, but the solutions are coming and I'm really feeling into the full moon, right? We will receive that solution with the full moon. And I know the full moon is going to be in Leo. So take that into consideration. And this air energy, I feel that, let me see, what do I feel with this? I feel like there's two parts. So I feel this upcoming full moon, there's going to be some sort of solution, guidance, answers coming forth. And I feel like there's going to be a part two of that on during the Libra full moon, which will be during Aries season. Right. And so that's going to be basically two full moons from this full moon. So we got time, but yeah, we're going to get some solutions, but I think it's not like you're done, we're done with it. It's just like, okay, here's what you need to know. Awesome. I'm going to take 3 cards because I always like to take 3. So the next one here is the wheel. So this is a moon mansion I'm sorry. Oh yeah, this is a moon mansion 5 with Saturn and Mercury. And I'm going to get one more before I really connect with what this might mean. But I'm feeling reflections. I'm definitely feeling reflections, collaboration, maybe. What's the third message for us? Okay, thank you. Oh, we got a goddess. Demeter, which is the goddess of spring, right? The goddess of fertility, of spring. This is Virgo energy coming through here. Yeah, so I feel like there's like with the spring energy that I'm connecting with, it definitely feels like that full moon Libra that I was speaking to, right? So that's when it's really going to come to fruition. And this upcoming full moon is going to give us the answers that we seek that will help us to fully bring in whatever that desire is into fruition. And this one here, Saturn and Mercury. So we have more of that air energy coming through. And then the Saturn's like the discipline. So I'm going to see what it says here in this book. Yeah, I think we lost Alexis. Yeah. So her power must have. died. But thank you everyone for being here. All right, so good networking is the key word for this one here. So if you draw this card, you have the ability to make good connections and to work with others to keep the wheels of particular enterprise turning. It is important to the success of your endeavors to move in the right social circles and to make useful contacts. Contacts. I feel like I said that weird. A will often denotes gaining permission or acceptance by someone in a position of power. This card is essentially about who you know and how well they like you. Yeah, so that collaboration energy, I feel that. So yes, possibly maybe with the full moon, we will gain the solution and the guidance, possibly through the dream space. And that air element coming through is the connection. It might lead that the solutions will lead us to some sort of connection with someone else, possibly. And that will help us to put into motion what will come to fruition this coming spring. Let me just check out Demeter and then I'll let you guys enjoy your night. Demeter. All right. Yeah, this is speaking to her earth connection. It's just talking about the myth. Yeah, I feel mostly connected to what I said about this. I'm resonating with my interpretation. So that's what we have, friends. I hope this was helpful. Um, I am wishing you the best for this new lunar cycle, this new lunar year. And we are always looking forward to hearing about your dream space. So feel free to share with us your dreams if you desire. You can email us at theinnerversepodcast@gmail.com. You can send us a private message with your dream or any questions that you have on our Instagram account. And we have some really exciting news, but of course, I'm going to wait for Alexis to share that. So yeah, stay